Hey everybody, Dr. Paula Ruffin. I'm here with Jenny Aloe, and Jenny works for Camella Remodeling, which is a local company here that can help you with all your remodeling needs. But even more importantly, Jenny is a busy mom, or at least was. She's got grown kids now. Mm-hmm. But we're going to dive a little bit into her backstory and find out how she got into this and get to know her a little bit more and see what makes her unique and different in the home remodeling space. So, hey Jenny.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, how long have you been doing home remodeling?
I've been doing remodeling for about 4 or 5 years now.
Okay. And how did you take us back a little bit? What was your inspiration for getting into that?
I just love working on houses. I love making them better, and I did a lot of it. I stayed home with my kids, and I did a lot of stuff myself. Like I would do a backsplash, or I really enjoyed doing things myself and seeing if I could do it, and just the before and after, making things beautiful and making people happy with we're big customer service kind of people, so making people happy and seeing their enjoyment. Everybody lives in their house, and
it's crazy. I've had some renovations done in my home, and between how fun it is and how frustrating it is, there's that fine line of like, oh, I can't wait, and I can't wait to get these contractors out of my house, but then I can't wait for the finished product. Oh, I really need these contractors to get here today, right? And so, which you dealt with that a little bit today. And so how has it been in the last few years managing with your contractors and getting things done in a timely manner? Have you guys been able to navigate through that and get your projects done the way you needed to for people?
We have. We've done a really good job. After the pandemic, kind of, things picking up again, we realized really quickly that we kind of were always working in waiting for things to things would come in, and then we would work on a project, and things would be coming in as we're working. That all changed with, we don't start a project now, and we still do this. We don't start a project until every single piece of material is in-house, ready to go. We won't even think about tearing someone's house out. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
That's been key, because that's, obviously people want to get back in and live in their house, and if someone's going to get angry, it's because they're just out of commission for too long. So that's been a huge help. We schedule things in a way that our contractors, I'll give someone a week to get through their trade, whether it's drywall or tile. We just make sure we pad extra time in there, so we're not consecutively having people, like if someone misses a day, that doesn't set us behind. We can still stay on schedule. Within week chunks that we schedule, we're finishing up projects either on schedule or a little bit early, and getting people back in their spaces quicker. So
that's great. How long does it take you to do a kitchen? Because I always thought, oh my gosh, I really need my kitchen done, but I don't know that I could be without my kitchen. So there's that fine line of I really need it done, but holy moly, how am I going to live? So how long does that typically take? And
it's typically 8 to 12 weeks. We tell people, depending on how complicated their cabinets are and how much, if we're stripping down to floors and things like that, probably more on the 12-week side. A lot of times we're getting people, we have some really great companies that we partner with as far as countertops and cabinets and things like that. So that has really helped us to cut down on timelines, and, where there's some countertop companies that you're waiting for a month for them to install. We're down to a week or two.
That's great.
They're really efficient. So we're able to, once countertops go in, people can at least get back and put their refrigerator in and, start using appliances and start living. So we'll have some little things. But so we try to collapse that time as much as possible, and just, getting people living in there. And then, the other thing is just, we don't really carry a punch list, because we're fixing those things as we go. So when we're like, see ya, thank you, we're gone and we're out of your hair unless something comes
great.
up.
So instead of waiting to the end and going fix this, and this.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It would seem to me that the best time to do your kitchen is in the summertime. because then you can have a fridge in your garage.
Yes.
You can grill,
Yeah.
you can kind of not feel so stifled.
Yep.
I had some friends that lived in their camper in their driveway for a summer while they had their whole kitchen redone. And
that's ideal. If you can do something else, that's it, people set up their little pretend kitchens in their basements or other rooms and things, and whatever you can do to get through it. And
I need to find a friend with a camper.
Yes.
So take us back a little bit. Again, you said that when your kids were little, so you were doing this, you were juggling being a mom, you were doing your working at the same time, doing projects. So when did you fit the time in? How did you, because whenever I talk to moms and any woman that has a career and is raising kids, it's one of those things where it's like we fit things in wherever we can fit things in. So what was your best practice for raising your kids and being able to do what you love? And
I was lucky in that when my kids were a lot younger, I wasn't really working at all. I worked in the schools and got to volunteer and things like that. So I wasn't doing anything full time. Once they were, early middle school years, I knew that I needed to start doing something. So I started doing real estate. I got licensed to sell real estate and got back into working that way. And that was a little bit more, flexible time-wise. So I did that for a little bit, and then decided that I'd need a little bit of education to get into remodeling. And I knew I wanted to be more into a remodeling situation than.
How did that strike you, or how did you come about going into remodeling? Because it seems to me like it seems really artistic, as well as having that ability to visually take someone's idea or what they think they want, and then be able to say, okay, this is what it would look like on paper. Like I would have no idea. I could tell you everything I wanted, but then I need somebody to take that and say, well, this is feasible, this isn't. So I feel like it's really very left and right brain all at the same time.
It is.
So where did that strike you, that you were like, this is what I want to do. I want to go tear people's houses out.
I think the creative side of it, really, I've always had an not necessarily artistic, but creative side where I really enjoy putting things together. As far as remodeling goes, I knew I wanted to remodel houses. I didn't know how to go about that without going back to school. I knew I didn't want another 4-year degree, so I had a business degree, but so I went back to OCC and I got my interior design degree.
I was just going to ask what the degree was.
So I went back and did that so that I could have the, the colors. And you meet people who are like, oh, your house is beautiful, and you put things together, but you don't really know why they go together. So I wanted to know the why, and I knew that part of that was always just doing the construction side of it, because I just love how things go together and seeing that process. And I love walking into a completely demoed room and seeing nothing. Like that whole process is just, and I guess I kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go with it. And I started working while I was in school. I started working at a kitchen remodeling store in Northville. So I did that for a couple years, just behind the assistant kind of things, and just basically absorbing any part of what I could learn to catch up to where I thought I should be.
Did you learn more
education
outside of school? Obviously school gives us a foundation, but where did the true education really come from for you?
Definitely in the running the jobs, and the design. The education really helped me with, there's software that I use that I can, like you said, people are like, I want this, but I have to draw it out for them. And so that helped me with the software side of it. It helped me when I'm doing colors and materials and things, that kind of introduced me to that. And then once I was able to understand what all the pieces were, definitely on the job. On the job is where, just the projects, working with the trades, understanding, and one of my goals was always to, I know there's designers who design things and then the trades get to install them, and it's not realistic.
Sure.
So there's a whole revamping of things, and so that was a huge part of me being in the design side was that I wanted to understand and work with trades that, like, yeah, we're both working towards the same goal, and we all want this to go.
Do that.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to hear that, and I hate seeing people disappointed. So that was part of my goal too. I was like, I want people to be happy. I want them to have realistic expectations, and I want to give them to them. So understanding the trade side. So I really spent a lot of time getting to know our trades that we work with, so that they would explain things to me, and just
and
work
were they
with some great
amenable
people.
To that?
Because it made their job easier. They were happy. Everybody's happy to talk to me and explain what they're doing, so that I can make their life easier, and that's always my goal.
I think in general, everyone, especially again, whether it's trades, whether it's remodeling, whatever it is, there's creativity that goes, creativity and skill. And so when you're dealing with all those different people, to make them feel heard too, because they, the tradespeople, like, we know they work really hard, and they don't want to just be seen as just a worker,
right?
Because they have a lot of talent that they're bringing in, right? I wouldn't know the first place where to put a nail. I don't know,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, door handles. The first time I helped install door handles, the carpenter's like, "Where do you want these?" And I'm like,
I don't know.
"Where do you put them?" They just stick on the door, right? And then we go through like, "Well, where would you put them?" And so a lot of that stuff I'll actually, leave to them, and they're like, "Well, I don't want to offend you," and I'm like, "I'm not offended. I'm always learning. So if there's something that can make me understand better, help me explain it to a customer better, that's always my goal."
Well, and those details, again, going through the renovations that I went through in my house, where you now end up, every time I go into a building, and whether it's a kitchen or whether I'm looking at baseboards. I'm looking, why did they pick that trim? That's interesting. You start looking at things that and my sister built a house down in North Carolina, and I went down I was visiting her. This was last year, and I said, I'm actually surprised. Talking about door handles, I said, I'm surprised you put in round door handles. And we had this whole discussion about door handles and why she chose round door handles and why I chose levers. And her reason was because her purse would always get caught on the hook levers.
That's so funny.
And my reason was I always have a whole bunch of crap in my hands, and I needed to go like that to open the door. So it was just so funny, like, why, there was so much thought that went into door handles, right?
Yeah, and it's those details that you don't think about, and there's always something on a project that somebody's like, well, what about the smallest detail? And I'm like, well, no one's ever asked me that before, so I don't know, let's figure it out. And it's great, because now I do have a collection of information that helps me, but there's always something that, like, you just, and that's something that I, being more of, not a perfectionist, but you just want everything to go smooth and easy, and so there's always something that kind of throws you off, and that's part of the fun too, though, is there's always a challenge, and hearing everybody's solutions to things, and, well, I would do it this way, and I would do it this way, or just
gathering information.
Yeah, it's just really, and it's really interesting to hear how other people are solving things with their knowledge and their brains. So
yeah, I remember one of the things that was driving me crazy was what kind of trim did I want. And again, like, I didn't pay attention to trim until I had to actually put up trim. And why is trim so expensive? First of all, that was a big thing. I'm like, it's a board along, like, you're gonna kick it most of the time. But even like that profile around that door over there, it's here, it's part of the building. But I wouldn't have picked that. That's not, So I looked at trim everywhere I went. And I kept saying, now, how do I get that look? And because I didn't know how to create the look. So then I'd take pictures, and then, so it's interesting too, because it sounds like you're able to bring ideas to people, because I think before you do a project like that, like, our skill set is, as a consumer, is like, we don't have a skill set, but we have a tiny vision. But we can't even have a bigger vision because we don't even know what exists out there.
Right.
So to work with somebody like you to be able to help us see, well, did you ever think of, well, why would you want levers for your door handles? Or,
Yeah.
So I love that you've been able to, get that, or give your customers that kind of that kind of education, right? Or just insight, and help them see like bigger things that they could create, or then also say, no, we can't go that big, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
interesting.
what was your life before you became a mom? What did you do before then?
Before then, I worked, I mentioned I got a business degree, so I have an accounting background, so I started in accounting, and then got very interested in software. I have kind of a love for software as well, so that's where like doing the designs and learning new software has always been something that I've enjoyed. Like it's just felt kind of natural. So I worked in the software world for probably 3 or 4 years. I traveled for a bit doing training, so got to see a little bit of the countryside, and
Nice.
so I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed working with people and doing software and all that. And I guess at some point I realized when I decided to stay home with my kids that was going to be a whole, the world changed so quickly with software that if I were going to do that again, I would have to completely, go back and relearn everything that I
It's incredible
that I knew.
the advances that we've made in just 20 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about like the internet's only been around since 1995. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I remember getting my first computer, and my dad told me in 1984, don't go into computers because there was no money in it. So thanks, Dad. Thank you, appreciate it. So it sounds like you are getting the best of all the worlds for yourself. You're getting this creative side, but you still have this technical. Like I always try to think of people, right brain, left brain, and what drives you. But it seems like you're split right down the middle. You're just able to satisfy all of that for yourself.
Yeah, and that was one of my thoughts was in going into remodeling and design, was that there was that whole other side of me that I just never really paid attention to, because nobody's going to go to school and be an artist, or at least I knew that wasn't going to be a lucrative thing for me. I wasn't that creative, so that was the one thing that I was like, that's something that satisfies both sides, and it's really been all of that and more. I've really been happy that
Are your kids creative?
My daughter is very creative. My son, not a creative bone in his body.
Okay, he's the technical. He's got the technical side.
Yeah, but both very smart.
So you have 2 kids, and you just told me your daughter just graduated college.
Yeah.
And so tell everybody what her degree is in, because
Biological engineering.
Yeah.
And people are always like, what is she going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand it.
Because I was even wondering, like, if you go into medicine from there, if that's, research or...
Yeah, it's a pretty broad, it's somewhat specific, but also broad. She could go into biomedical. That's something I think that crosses over. She's very interested in food, so I think she wants to be somewhere in the food engineering area at some point. She had interviewed at Kraft, so doing something like that I think is of interest to her. But there's a lot out there. Now. She's back home.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah.
And how do you feel about that? You're like happy to have her home, or are you like,
Yeah, it's just an adjustment. I feel like from the day they leave for college, you're so sad, and then you're like, okay, I'm used to this, and then they're home for Christmas, and you're like, oh.
I know, right? Yeah.
Like, okay, another adjustment. So it's just kind of a constant adjustment as they leave and come home, and so it'll be a little bit of adjustment, but I missed her.
Yeah, and of course for her too, because she's like, now she's back home with the parents and living on her own for so long. So and your son, what's your son doing?
He's working. He has a finance degree, so doing. He works for a company.
Super technical, yeah.
Doing estimation, and he loves spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff.
There is a place for all those people in the world, because I am not one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he loves that stuff. So he's living on his own and doing his thing. He's golfs probably 4 days a week, and
oh my gosh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
Huge golf fan and really good at it. So
that's amazing. And so I mean, you got to be proud. You like raised them, and now you get to take care of yourself. And so what's your favorite thing to do to take care of yourself?
I love yoga. I love doing yoga. Being outside, bike riding, and just being outside. I love just outdoors. Hiking. I went out west a couple years ago, and I never really hiked anything, beyond going to Mayberry locally or,
Where'd
something
you
like that. We went to Grand Canyon. We went to Zion. What are the other parks we went
Zion's
to?
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, we went
Yeah.
a few different places and just realized that I love hiking. I just love it. So
It's incredible. In fact, I did a video last week on gardening, and my favorite shoes to wear in the garden are my hiking boots that I've had for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just, it's the best shoe to be out in the garden in. And I'm like, yeah, and they're super comfortable and I could walk miles in them.
Okay.
and
That's
it
good to
makes
know.
it-
I've
I
never
know.
gardened in my hiking
absolutely.
boots, but now I will.
Yeah. Because they're stable.
Yeah.
But then I think of all the places in this country that those boots have been around. And so we'll have to get out and do some hiking.
Yeah.
Would love to, It's just, you're out in the woods and it's so peaceful, and they've been to Zion, so yeah, and
Okay.
Bryce Canyon, and
Yeah, Bryce, that was one of the other, I
yeah.
always forget that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bryce Canyon was like, do you remember the rocks? Did you ever get the rocks? You put them in an aquarium and
Yeah,
with
and they,
water,
like, build up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, that's what
the
Bryce
hoodoos.
Canyon.
I
That's
think
what
they're
Bryce
called.
Canyon reminded me of. I was
Yes.
like, there's like the weirdest looking, formations. So
Yeah.
definitely something I think like everybody should go to Bryce and Zion. It's like nothing. That's
Yeah, and everywhere
so
we
unique.
went we went to Horseshoe Canyon as well, which is on my TV.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My screensaver. I mean, everywhere we went was totally different, and I was like, oh, how many rocks can we see? How
Yeah.
many rocks can we climb on? And it was just every view was amazing and beautiful.
Pretty
and,
incredible.
Yeah, so that, and I love paddleboarding too. Like, I love being on the water.
And so where do you go around here to paddleboard?
I will go to Kensington. I try to stay on smaller lakes just because I have a blow-up paddleboard, so it doesn't handle big waves well. So, and then I just started, there's someone locally who does group paddleboards out in Pinckney and does there's a chain of lakes out there.
Big chain of lakes out there.
Yeah, so she does, and she brings the paddle boards and all that, and she does yoga on them. That's part of the.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I started doing that last year. I did that a couple times, and that was like a new love of mine too. That I'll definitely do more of this year.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I might have to get out there with you and do that too.
Yeah,
So.
I'll let you know.
Well, awesome. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
We're local. Our website is CamellaRemodeling.com. My email is CamellaRemodel@gmail.com if you want to email and reach out. We do have, our website has an area that you can just contact us through the website, and I get those emails directly.
And I'll make sure I drop their information in the show notes. And then, is there any obligation just to come and talk to you guys, or if you have an idea or thoughts about what you want to do, they just contact you and have a conversation about it?
Yep. What we'll do is we usually set up an appointment. We like to, we have people who contact us like, can you give me a quote for this with plans? Or we always like to see a space before we quote it. So, and meet people that we're working with. So we'll set up an appointment, totally free, no obligation. We'll give a free estimate. I usually do like some type of drawing. If it's something that we're doing a big change somewhere, a big remodel, I'll do a drawing and just to give people an idea of what we're doing. And one advantage, the owner of the company, Adam, we do everything together. So he's the, builder's side. So if there's, walls to be moved and things like that, he's great at calling that out, and he kind of knows the extent of what we need to do. Other than what's hidden behind the walls, he it's great because we'll both go and I do the design side, and then we work on the estimate together. And
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, listen, if you are thinking of getting a remodel, I think you guys need to all reach out to Jenny and talk to her and see what she can do for you, because it sounds like they have a really unique spin and, able to get your project done in a timely manner, which is, almost impossible these days. So, right? I know. All right, well, thanks for being here. We appreciate you watching. Don't forget to share this video as well as the Lyon Area Life podcast so we can make sure that we're interviewing and spotlighting other local people just like Jenny in the area, and just showing, all the great people that we have in our little community. So thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.